This is Doreen Orishaba, Managing Director of BasiGo, Rwanda. I am an electrical engineer by training, and I also have a Master of Science in Engineering Management. People always wonder, how did you get into the automotive space, the automotive world? I must say, well, I'm a follower of boys in the family. So at a very early age, I was really introduced to vehicles by my brothers. However, what really shaped my career was the Kira vehicle project, which started in Uganda while I was at the university. Kira was really about developing the very first electric vehicle in Africa at a time when no one was paying attention to electric vehicles in Africa. And when I graduated from the university, I had the opportunity to start working with them, and that's really where my career in electric vehicles started. Don't ask me how many years ago that is. But yeah, so at Kira Motors, I was really privileged to be part of the vehicle design and development team. And from there, I learned various things about what does it take to actually build, what are the different spatial systems about the electric vehicles? What does it take to build one? What does it take to actually plan for an electric bus? Because there we built the very first solar electric bus. However, my entry into more of the commercial space came in when I joined BasiGo, and this was in January 2022. At my first stint at BasiGo, I was leading the pilot. BasiGo had also just started in Nairobi, and I was privileged to lead the pilot. By that time, we had 2 buses, so really planning for that and seeing it through the first 6 months of passenger operations. This was the very first bus. Those 2 buses were the very first buses to go into passenger operations. And based on the different lessons that we learned, we were able to know, okay, so how do we plan for scale? And that expertise that we developed over now 2 years is what has helped us also expand into Rwanda. So what is BasiGo? BasiGo is an electric mobility company whose mission really is to provide electric buses as a competitive alternative to the diesel buses. We look at what appears to be as barriers to the adoption of the electric bus. We look at them as opportunities, because that is really why we exist. And what are these major barriers? We are looking at, one, the high upfront cost of the electric buses, and we get to address this by our innovative financing model, which we call pay as you drive. Pay as you drive, it's a mileage-based subscription where, just like it states, the operators, the bus operator, again, we do not operate buses, so we provide them to the different bus operators to be able to, go and do their thing, excel at their thing. So what happens under pay as you drive is the operators pay us a small lease deposit, and then the balance is catered for through that mileage-based fee. So for every kilometer they drive, they get to pay us. So that is why we call it pay as you drive. And that pay as you drive subscription fee, it caters for the cost of the bus, it caters for the charging of the buses, it caters for standard service and maintenance, it caters for insurance, the different insurance costs, cleaning of the bus, and also remote management platforms that we provide to the operators for them to always know, okay, how is my bus actually performing, both technically and financially. The second barrier that we look at as an opportunity for us is charging. When you speak about electric buses, you cannot separate that from the charging equation. So across Africa especially, and even really still across the world, electric buses generally and electric vehicles are the adoption is being hampered by the lack of charging infrastructure. And for buses, it's even a bigger requirement, because unlike the 2-wheelers, unlike the passenger vehicles, where most of the power systems are able to, support the requirements for that, for buses it's different. It really requires high voltage power, it requires high power, and it's really hard for operators to be able to invest directly into that. So as BasiGo, we come in to take that burden off their shoulders. So we provide the buses, we provide the charging, we provide the third element that people usually consider. For any new technology, for any new vehicle on the market, people are always going to ask, how am I going to service it, right? So as BasiGo, we also come in to provide service and maintenance services. We train a team of technicians and mechanics who are able to, to service the bus, to maintain it, to respond to any issues that may arise on these buses. BasiGo started out in Nairobi, like I had highlighted, in 2022, and based on the success and the great reception from the market, we looked at Rwanda as the next best city, Kigali as the next best city to introduce the buses. And here we really have an opportunity to even scale much faster here. So, dear Rwandans, Mudaho, we are really excited to be here in Kigali. We have started with a pilot of just 4 electric buses. And people always wonder, why do you start with such a small number? We thought, considering the crisis that the country is in as far as public transport is concerned, we would have just gone straight and brought 100. However, we always start with a pilot because we make assumptions on the technical specification and abilities of the buses. We make financial assumptions, we make economic assumptions. However, we start with a pilot to be able to validate all these assumptions and getting to understand and be in that position where we are comfortable with how the bus is performing. It puts us in a better position to scale even much faster. Like they say, start small, make the mistakes, if any, and then learn from that. For example, the one question Rwandans always ask when we're doing a market survey, their first question was, can an electric bus actually go up the Rwandan hills? It's a city of 1,000 hills, which we also look at as a city of 1,000 opportunities. And for us to be able to prove that, we wanted to start with a small number and be comfortable with the specification of the motor, of the battery, of the entire bus and how it's going to operate. And then from here, we are able to scale. I'm really, really proud to say that today is day 70 since we started the pilot operation with the first 2 buses. The other 2 have just recently joined this February. But looking at how the last 70 days have gone, I must say, and I'm really, really proud of the team, that over the last 70 days, the buses have been performing really well. We are in a very comfortable position right now where we are beginning to plan for 100 buses within the next 12 months, and the target is going to be 200 buses within the next 2 years. I'm really, really passionate about, of course, electrifying the public transport sector. And however, passion is never enough. You have to make it as practical as possible. This is why I commend the BasiGo model, because at the end of the day, public transport across East Africa is really private sector led, unlike other parts of the world. So what does that mean? The private business person is always looking for, where can I maximize revenue and also optimize in terms of costs? Where can I apply the least costs available? That means for us to be able to successfully electrify the public transport sector in East Africa, we have to speak to the providers of the public transport. Firstly, the operators, and then the people we call our secondary clients, the passengers as well. So affordability is definitely one key element that needs to be addressed. Affordability in terms of, for the passenger, it could be very affordable, but for the operator, the person who is bringing the means for the transport element. So I'm really, really passionate about providing affordable and also accessible electric transport, specifically electric buses for the East Africans. And looking at a city like Kigali, we pride ourselves in being the clean city, in being the leader in, let's say, electrification, because of the enabling environment that the government has set up. For example, electric vehicles currently are tax exempt. There's also a great electricity tariff that has been set up for e-mobility. So the next thing is okay, so how do we make the buses available? How do we make them affordable? How do we make the Rwandans who deserve, clean means of transport be able to access these buses? So that's definitely the one thing that I'm very passionate about. I want to think I've actually had a smooth ride, as really, of course, it's been a lot to learn. I will say this, for example, at Kira, we had to learn, okay, this is in Uganda, thinking through just post-university days. There was no course in automotive engineering. We had to learn these, like the principles on our own, literally. And the company really tried to take us for different training sessions, but at the end of the day, it really came back to you as an individual, putting in initiative to learn, to understand, to be able to apply what you have learned into, those different parts and systems of the vehicle. I've really been privileged to work with great teams, great mentors. And I will say this to the ladies out there, find a mentor as much as possible. I was really, really honored to be picked up by one of my lecturers at the university who guided me and is actually the one who opened the door to Kira Motors. After that, at BasiGo, I have a great mentor in our CEO, Jit Bhattacharya. So I will say to the ladies, find a mentor to guide you, to help you, like I said, learn the ropes of the different things or the different aspirations that you have. The other element is to take initiative. Take initiative in that do not always wait for things to come to you, but try to find them. When we started, there was, okay, this is really way back then. There wasn't really that much money involved in what we were doing, in the project that we were doing. But we were passionate, we were really driven. And we were doing this, the very first team was doing this outside their university hours. It was like co-curricular and a co-curricular activity. And look at where it has gotten us. Sometimes you just have to be passionate enough to go and look for that challenge. Go and find something different from the norm, like step out of your comfort zone. The other key element that I would want to mention is do not say no to an opportunity when it shows up. Whenever you think something is too big for you or too much for you or you can't handle it, first look within yourself. If you truly, truly can't, then maybe give it time. But do not be tempted to say no at the upfront. Take it up, learn, fail, learn from it and grow from it, absolutely. But do not be tempted to say no at the onset. I always believe it's going to start with our roots. Some of these things, some of these positions, some of these where we need to include people, they require qualification. If the girl child has not been exposed from a tender age, and here they are requiring, let's say, someone with an engineering background or a software development background, or if you do not have exposure to that, you're probably never going to qualify. We'll always keep on shouting, we need inclusivity, but we also need basis for that. So really reaching out to the girl child from tender ages, be it kindergarten, be it primary school, introducing them to things like Lego programs, training kids how to code, like introducing them specifically to the STEM subjects at an early age, building their interest in that at an early age, it will really, really go a long way. Secondly, mentorship, definitely. This is really, really important. I have mostly been mentored by men, by gentlemen, but I'm glad that now I have an opportunity to also mentor the ladies. So the ladies who have risen through, let us really take the initiative to be able to mentor the younger girls, the younger ladies as well. The other element is going to be, reminding the men that they're also a part of this. It's one thing to teach the girls, but then we also need to remember the men, they are the fathers to the girls, they are the brothers, they are the uncles, they are the husbands. They also need to be empowered in a way that they can uplift the girl child build confidence in their wives, in their sisters, in their daughters, to know that we can achieve great. We can definitely be contributors to society, be contributors and in a way that creates impact, not just what helps us in our careers, but in a way that's building impact within our communities, within the world.